Alright, Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, was supposed to cap off the Skywalker saga, but it still left fans with a lot of unanswered questions. We asked for your questions on our community page, and I'm here to try to explain them for you. This is Screen Crush. Big spoilers for Rise of Skywalker are ahead, so let's start off with the big one. How did Palpatine return? We covered this in a separate video, but it boils down to this. He learned from Darth Plagueis how to keep his spirit alive, as he says in Revenge of the Sith.
He had such a knowledge of the dark side, he could even keep the ones he cared about from dying.
Then he had people around for a contingency plan to clone him new bodies. Alright, so then why did he clone Snoke and operate through him when he could have just cloned himself? I don't think Snoke's cloned body was actually Force sensitive. He was merely using Palpatine's Force energy. Creating a body that could actually contain that much dark side energy takes magic and not science. That's why he needed to steal Rey and Kylo's life force to be resurrected. Alright, so why clone Snoke with a scarred face? Well, that's to make the illusion more believable. If Luke and Leia knew that Rey was a Palpatine, why did they pretend otherwise? For the same reason that Ben kept the truth from Luke, to protect her. Leia didn't want her to know until she was ready, and Luke probably never wanted her to know.
I've seen this raw strength only once before. In Ben Solo. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now.
Even though it's actually because J.J. Abrams just retconned the decision that Rian Johnson made in Last Jedi. Anyways, moving on. How did Luke and Leia know that she was a Palpatine? Luke was looking for a Jedi hunter that was tracking Rey. He probably knew that the hunter was searching for the family of Palpatine and that the search hit a dead end on Jakku. So he would have figured it out as soon as Rey said this.
Where are you from?
Nowhere.
No one's from nowhere.
Jakku.
All right, that is pretty much nowhere.
As for Leia, she would have also known the Emperor had a missing granddaughter and would have pieced it together when a crazy Force-sensitive 20-something from Jakku showed up on her doorstep. So how did the ancient Sith dagger know where to find a relic inside a piece of rubble on a raging sea? Well, the dagger would have been forged after the Deathstar was destroyed, and maybe the sea wasn't raging before the wreckage landed. The wreckage would have been so large there was no way the waves can move it, and the water just tries to get around it. How did the Deathstar end up in the ocean when it landed on the forest moon of Endor? It actually didn't land on Endor's forest moon, just another of its moons. They're very clear about this in the movie. Was this Palpatine's plan all along?
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
Well, he didn't plan on losing the Galactic Civil War. He was surprised when Vader threw him down the shaft. But he did have a plan in place called the contingency in case he was betrayed. We covered this more in our Palpatine Explained video, but the contingency was just what you saw in the movie. Go to the Unknown Regions and build a secret fleet. Alright then, so where did all these giant ships come from? Who built them? Who were operating them? The Emperor's had 30 years to put his plan into place, so that would have been plenty of time to build the ships. As for who these people are, the Unknown Regions are a big part of the galaxy that no one's really explored before, except for the Sith. So we don't know what was out there or anything about the people who lived there. It's likely the Sith conquered the region before they went endangered 1,000 years ago, so there would have been some deep-seated loyalties among the population of these planets. Why did Leia die? Well, the on-screen reason is she had to purge Palpatine's influence from her son. This took all her remaining strength. She died to save him. Next up was Han Solo a Force ghost. No, they're pretty clear in the movie that he's a memory. Here's another big one. What was Finn going to tell Rey? Well, it's got to be one of two things, right? Either that he has feelings for her.
Got a family? Got a boyfriend? Cute boyfriend?
Or that he's Force sensitive, which is also another question. Is Finn Force sensitive? I think so. He talks about having feelings and instincts all through the movie, and then he senses when Rey dies. Why does Palpatine send Kylo to kill Rey instead of capture her? Because he wanted Rey to overwhelm Kylo, kill him, and use the Wayfinder to track down Palpatine. Kylo Ren was just a pawn to get Rey to turn to the dark side. Here's another one that I've been getting a lot. When did Palpatine have a kid? Look, there's plot holes, and then there's just stuff you don't see happen because it's boring. Palpatine took a wife when he was a senator, and it didn't work out. That's his own private business. But the real problem is, now we have to picture him having sex.
Good.
Who were the other people in the Sith arena at the end of the movie? These are the ghosts of Sith Lords past. Palpatine says all Sith live in him, and this is an externalization of that. It's like the ghost cave at the end of Return of the King. How was Luke's lightsaber fixed after it was destroyed in Last Jedi? Well, they fixed it because J.J. Abrams didn't care about the symbolism of it being broken to begin with. So they found the new kyber crystal and they fused it back together. Why didn't Palpatine possess Rey when she killed him?
Strike me down with all of your hatred, and your journey towards the dark side will be complete.
Because she didn't strike him down in anger, she used his own Force lightning against him, and as we've seen before, this injures Palpatine. When Palpatine healed, why didn't he become young Chancellor Palpatine that we've seen in the prequels? Because he didn't drain all of their life force. He wanted to keep them alive to screw with them some more. How did Ben travel from Endor's moon to Exegol? All the shuttles on the Death Star would have been damaged, and Imperial TIE fighters don't have hyperdrives. Well, he was still Supreme Leader, so I assume he called for a shuttle. Okay then, if Ben was still Supreme Leader, why not just call off the attack at the end? Well, for two reasons. One, Palpatine was in charge by that point. We even saw that ex-Imperial kneeling to him. Two, Ben knew that the real fight was against Palpatine. You take out the king, you win the game. Why didn't Anakin show up in the film since he was the chosen one? Well guys, apparently he wasn't the chosen one.
Underestimate my power!
And he does show up as a voiceover. Now let's talk about the healing. Lots of people want to know why no Jedi ever bothered to heal someone before. The answer is they probably didn't know about it, that's why Luke didn't heal Vader, or they weren't strong enough to pull it off. That's why Obi-Wan didn't heal Qui-Gon Jinn. How can Force ghosts catch lightsabers and call down lightning, but they can't go after the bad guys? My guess is they're not strong enough as ghosts to do any damage against somebody like Palpatine.
You were our only hope.
Why didn't someone pull a holdo maneuver into the Command Star Cruiser? Well, pulling a holdo maneuver like we saw in Last Jedi is a suicide mission and nobody wants to die. And for most of the battle, there weren't any capital ships around that could actually attempt it. Okay, now here's one about the ending. How did Rey know where the Lars homestead was? She probably asked someone. I mean, she could have gone into the Mos Eisley Cantina and said, does anybody know where the Lars family used to live? Or Maz Kanata told her. Why was there a room with mirrors right next to Palpatine's throne room in the Death Star? So in the movie, they call this a Sith vault. It would make sense that Palpatine would keep a vault close by for his most valuable artifacts. It's not actually filled with mirrors. It has an enchantment on it to protect whatever is inside that shows people what they're most afraid of. In Rey's case, it was the darkness inside her. And why was the first Wayfinder in some box in the forest? Because these guys were running from the First Order and bringing their box with them. They were probably charged with keeping it safe from the Sith. Why did nobody strip the Jedi Hunter ship for parts when it was in the desert for decades? Because the Pasanans are a superstitious people, and they sense the evil presence of the ship. Also, they wouldn't go near the sand pits. This is a good one. Red 5, Luke's X-Wing, was missing a wing in Last Jedi because Luke used it as a door. So how did the X-Wing fly away? Well, it wasn't the whole wing. He used a piece of the wing for a door. Rey is a scrapper. She probably found a piece of the destroyed TIE fighter and used that for repairs. How can Rey suddenly use Force lightning? Well, she didn't know she could. It shows the dark side is strong in her if she chooses to use it. Why couldn't C-3PO translate Sith? He says in the movie that the Senate passed a law forbidding the translation. So either the Senate outlawed this 1,000 years ago after the Sith were defeated, or Palpatine outlawed it to cover his own tracks.
I am the Senate.
Well, could they have found another protocol droid? Yes, but they only had 16 hours. That's right, this entire movie with them hopping around from planet to planet takes place in just 16 hours. And finally, why did so many ships show up when nobody answered the call at the end of Last Jedi?
They've heard us, but no one's coming.
Because this time they had the most smooth-talking swindler in the galaxy asking them for help.
I don't claim you can have a better time with Colt 45 than without it. But why take chances?
All right, guys, that's a lot of plot holes and questions. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them for you. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.